Okay, guys, thanks for those who've dialed in. It's Coach Steve here, and I've just welcomed, we've got around 8 Smarties on the line, and we are going to go through the taper period. A topic we have covered at the start of the series, but for those who are new joined to the PB squad, or who actually it's more relevant now, because you do have a race coming up, we're just going to cover some of that. Okay, so I am now I'm sharing my screen. Does everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool, alrighty. Okay, so tapering. If you've gone through one of my plans or been one of the programs, you will have gone through a base period where we build up all the base aerobic fitness and we get you a bit stronger, a bit more efficient. And then we go through the build phase where we get you a bit more race sharp. We get some add some speed onto that endurance, or if it's shorter distance, we're adding on more speed. The taper is where we bank all the gains from the base and the build, and then we allow you to kind of just let the body recoup and the energy levels kind of bounce back, while maintaining a fresh mental focus and allow you to turn up to your race like a coiled spring. So it is a very uncertain time for most athletes. You've got into a regimen of training, the rhythm of training, the certain amount of just acceptance that this happens on a Tuesday, or I do a long bike on a Sunday, yada, yada. And it's discombobulated having free time. And it also is a period of time where it's nervous for an athlete, because if you get injured now, your A race is in jeopardy. As in, if it's something serious, you're gone. So people, and if you get sick, you kind of question that as well. So you're always a little bit nervous of it. And this is the classic meme of it, where athletes may become spontaneously moody. Not exactly me, but close to it. Afraid of getting sick, irrational, can't focus on anything. Also really worried about the weather, because something that you cannot control. And start questioning all sorts of the process, questioning what their fitness is, etc. And they'll just get very anxious and restless. Okay, these are all normal and absolute, and I will go through the exact same emotions, even though I've been racing for 15, 16 years. I will do the same in Florida. Okay, but over the years, I've kind of built up some do's and don'ts. And again, to kind of embellish this a little bit to the last time we did the taper period, I actually went and listened to the Crushing Iron podcast. And the guys I do like they're very similar mindset to me. But there's some things they sprinkle in and actually, that's quite clever. So let me say I've repurposed, not stolen, but repurposed and added in some additional points. So in the first thing we need to do, and again, I think this is my new catchphrase, by the way, we are to trust in the plan or the process, and the results will come. You don't need to second guess yourself. You don't need, if you've done the training and even if you've missed some kind of key sessions, or you've missed the odd session here regularly enough, but if you've done 80 to 90% of the training in the plan, you are golden. Okay. And what I'd like people to do is, rather than obsess and worry and kind of think about where I could squeeze in additional training, what does my CTL look like now? It's gone down by 2 points today because I just had a rest day, la, la, la. You're better off looking back at your training log, in the sense that look at the mileage you've accumulated, look at the kind of numbers you've hit, the numbers you hit in your race pace runs, the number where your average heart rate were. Look for the positive data in there, and it's definitely there. Okay, so just trust yourself, okay, and trust my plan. You do need to rest and enjoy downtime. Now, as people on the plan will see, I don't tell you just to put your feet up for 2 weeks' time and sure you'll be grand. There's still a little bit of maintenance sessions in there, and it's all very light, low intensity, and it's more ticking over sessions. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with actually just embracing a little bit of downtime. You've become very regimented in your training. You've given up a lot of nights out. You've put in long hours. You've rearranged social events, and you've gotten up early. Now the the hay is in the barn, again, another phrase another coach used, which I like. Do not worry about having lie-in. If you need to skip a recovery swim session, it's not going to ruin your race day. If you feel your body's tired and you're listening to your body, just take that up. The other thing that the Crushing Iron guys picked up, and sorry, Callum, this is not exactly in line to what you were just saying. Try to minimize your work stress in the next couple of weeks, just to get to free up your mind as well, and that will help you sleep better. But also, as Callum was saying just earlier, seeing as he's going away on holiday at the end of the week, everyone's pulling out and trying to get everything done. So try to manage that if you can. It's best that you reduce the stress from other angles. Loading up on sleep is a good option if you ever had it. But also if you have the option to do a couple of things you've denied yourself in the last few months, like go out, watch a movie with someone, have a couple of beers. Nothing off the wall, but just, allow your mind and your body to unwind. I'm a big fan of having a couple of longer lie-ins for in the week of the taper week. And again, as triathletes, I think people laugh when we say that a lie-in, I stayed in bed till 7. And you're like, but still, it's maybe an hour and a half longer than you would normally. The body will appreciate it. But again, back to the point that athletes are going to be anxious and restless and all the rest because they've got all this energy, which is what we're looking for. And they've got all this time on their hands. So I say, focus on things that will keep you occupied, but also will reduce the anxiety. Work out the nuts and bolts of your race day strategy. Work out the logistics of how you're getting there. Check off, confirm flights are looking all right. Confirm your bookings are made, etc. You'll have that feeling that you're still in control and you're still contributing positively towards your race, but you're not doing anything that's going to overly stress you physically or mentally. And one of the things that the guys in Crushing Iron came up with, what I thought was very clever, is have a plan or an idea about where you'll do your on-site training. So as they pointed out correctly, like you'll go to the location, like the lads will be in Italy and all the rest, and you won't know where's a good place to go for a run and all the rest, or where's a good place to go for a bike that might take in some of the course as your kind of like your test ride and stuff. So kind of figure that out beforehand, and that you know where you're going, and it doesn't mean you're ending up, as they had the great image of, you'll go to an Ironman venue and you'll see 10 very bemused looking lads in aero helmets going the wrong way up a one-way street. That's an accident waiting to happen. So think about that stuff as well. So, and that's again a way of you channeling the energy and all the rest in the positive way. Go, look, I know exactly what direction we're going to go. I've put it into my Garmin. On Tuesday, I'm going to put that on, and it means I will cover 20K of the course. I know what section of the course it is. That will help your mind as well. Other things you can do that won't exert you too much mentally or physically is working on the mental side of the game. As I said, I point out that Ironman training for me is 70% physical, 30% mental in terms of in the lead up. So there's all these long sessions, these hard sessions, these hard swim sets, there's these long swim sets, yada, yada. 70% is actually getting them done and getting your body adapted. 30% is persuading yourself that it's a good idea to get up in the morning and that you really want this, and this is good, that this thing in Training Peaks isn't actually broken and it's actually correct. On the race day, that flips for me, because it will go 30% physical because you've done the training, you've got the fitness, you've done the big milestone sessions. But then 70% is fighting with the two little tri-devils on the tri-devil on one side, the tri-angel sort of going, give up, you're not strong enough, you haven't done enough session, remember that 20K run you missed, that's crucial, la la la. And the tri-devil going, you got this. So you need to work out ways that you feed the tri-angel and you do enough things to shut up the tri-devil. And again, these are kind of mental strategies such as visualization. These are like, as in you, in the days leading up, you think about yourself being on the bike, feeling confident, looking aero, looking smashing, and like hoovering up that road. And you visualize that. You visualize coming out of the water. You visualize running strong with good form. You visualize coming down the finish line, high-fiving friends, was it waving to family, etc. All positive thoughts that reinforce it. And you can dig into these thoughts when you're you're having the inevitable lows on the race day where you sort of go, oh, I'm wrecked. Mantras as well are kind of what they say, short, powerful statements that kind of keep you focused. There will be times in the race where your mind drifts. Weirdly enough, I find a swim, my mind goes all over the place. I have to have short statements for each of the disciplines that will zone me back in. I have, what was it, in Cork, it was kind of find feet, fight up, glide back, because I knew I was going to have a little bit of a fight. The current would be against me on the way down, and I knew that if I glided, with the current is be with you on the majority of it. So it just reminded me to stretch out. And every time I found myself drifting, I just say those words and it'll bring me back into the moment. Mantras for the guys on the bike in Italy would be, good one would be aero, aero, aero on that stage in the motorway, because it is going to be nice and it's flat and all the rest. If you find yourself sitting up, sort of like looking around, and then just like, hang on, aero, aero, and you go, I should be on the bars. Steady, steady on the climb, etc. Other things as well, like on the run, I always have a thing like such as catch slowly, pass confidently. As in, so if I'm gaining someone on the run, I know and I can see it happening. I don't push it until I get beside it, but when I run past someone, I make sure I'm bolt upright. My breathing's under control, and I wave to them as I go. Like, yeah, great day, and that essentially mentally breaks someone. So that's, again, these are the things I do, and they're useful mantras, just again to snap you back into the moment rather than your head drifting, and then you sort of go, oh no, where have I been for the last sort of 20 minutes? And your average power is down, your heart rate, you're off target. So those little statements will help you. And again, so think about your visualization images, think about mantras that you're gonna say to yourself at various stages of the race that will keep you back in. That's another thing to kind of work on in the taper. Some of the don'ts, again, alludes to what we discussed earlier. Do not panic and think you are losing all the fitness because you're no longer doing 2-day sessions, and you're doing, like, your longest run is like sort of a 10K recovery run, or it's only an 8K tempo, or whatever is in the plan. It's designed that way. It's designed to let you a soft landing. So when you hit Romazia, when it was you hit the 70.3 start line for Kenny as well, you're full of energy. And again, there's also a feeling in the first week of taper, a lot of people complain, I'm still feeling a little bit fatigued and all the rest. That's okay. That's expected, because you are coming off a big enough training block. Just you would have had your peak rides and your peak runs. Do not panic. You are not losing fitness. The body is an amazing thing. All you're doing is keeping ticking over. And as I said, and in this period of time, to keep my sanity as well, because this is all about keeping Coach Steve's sanity, don't email me panicked about what Garmin's saying to you. Don't email me panicked what the CTL is or your ATL, etc. These figures will misrepresent what's actually happening. If you turn around to me and say, I'm going into my second week of taper and I still feel shattered, I will give you a different thing to do. Because then you are listening to your body. You're not being driven by Garmin saying you're underperforming one day and then you're peaking the next day. Listen to the body. Linked to that, kind of a classic panicky attack is where people suddenly start putting in extra sessions. I'm going to go, I know it's just a 60-minute easy, but I'm just going to do a short break off it. And maybe, I'm feeling good, so I'll add in another 5K, fine. It's not the plan. Don't add it in. You're not going to ruin your race in one way, but you're also not going to improve your race by adding in these extra sessions. You're better off just washing away the taper guilt and going, look, this is okay to not be doing 2 sessions a day. And if you, as I said, back to point 1, if you're nervous about it, look at your train log. I went, wow, I've accumulated a serious amount of miles. Back where Callum did, he went, look, this is the amount of mileage I've accumulated. That's what you focus on. And one of the things I picked up, and it's slightly counter to what I would always run with, but from the crushing iron guys, and I thought it was one that I thought it was an interesting debate. One was kind of all about very much what I'm saying is just ease it back, take it easy. The other guy had a little counterpoint, and I kind of went with him on it. And he said there is the option of just sprinkling in a little bit of intensity into certain sessions. Like, so if it's a recovery run and you just want to add in a little bit of strides or do a fast finish, just to kind of reassure yourself that the speed is there and your ability to run fast is there as a reassurance. And he calls it being a little bit more crisp. And I thought, oh, no, that's okay. And I can see where there'd be benefits from that. So that's the only a bit of leeway I'd have in the taper plan. I said, look, if you just want to finish off at a fast 1K, or you want to throw in some strides in the middle of it, all good. Or a short effort up a hill on your recovery spin, cool. Other things I've seen that I've seen people derail themselves in the last 2 weeks. Someone suddenly decided that they wanted to go, one of my athletes, and they didn't tell me till after the race, which I went, oh, please. They just decided to go vegan in the taper. And I went, well, which, listen, I have no problem with people going vegan, but you do not interrupt the rhythm of what you've built up. Go vegan after the Ironman. So, of course, he had kind of there's an adaptation, and in terms of his energy levels were down, and he always had problems. Again, if he'd flagged it, I said, look, just work with me on this. Just eat normally as we would have, a little bit of additional food intake, but let's not do anything drastic. Same way you don't do anything new with race day kit. You don't change anything in the diet and the lead up. So again, nothing daft. And the other thing, which I say it, and I say it a little bit hesitantly, because it just happens more than it should. Don't do anything dumb. And again, I have examples of one guy last year missed out his Ironman. He was in great shape and all the rest, and he looked like he was going to PB, etc. And he was playing football in the back garden with his kid, and he pulled his hamstring. And I went, I lost for words. I went, okay, would you normally? I said, no, normally I'd be doing a turbo, so I wouldn't have. And I went, did you not think about the potential? And I went, he goes, no, I know, I understand now. So nothing daft. Don't wrap yourself completely in cotton wool, but also have a bit, like, don't do anything that you do anything daft. I also think about that Spanish goalkeeper who was going to the World Cup, and he slipped on a soap and broke his leg or something. Some things you can't control, but playing football or going for like playing ice hockey, they've never played it before, let's not do that. Okay, so there are your do's and don'ts. I'm trying to focus more on the kind of positive stuff. Stick to the plan your logistics, reduce anxiety. Do not be afraid of resting. It's one of the things that I'm a big fan of. Okay. All right. So that's for the recording. I'm going to stop that there. We're going to switch off, and we're going to talk to the guys in the room, a little bit of Q&A, and just go around the room and see how they're going with their taper, or any other hints and tips they've got to share. Any questions for the non-attendees, you can pop me an email. Okay. So trust in the process. The results will follow. I like this. Okay. And we are stopping recording.